Have you ever wondered why someone who once coldly walked away from you suddenly becomes restless when they see you happy with someone else? This isn't love, it's threatened control. In today's video, we're peeling back the mask of narcissism to uncover the real reason they can't stand to see you move on, even though they were the one who left you in the first place. No need for resentment, no need for revenge, just deep understanding, and with that, you reclaim your emotional freedom. This video isn't about attacking anyone. It's about empowering you to break free from manipulation. See the truth clearly and learn how to protect yourself from toxic relationships. Watch until the end, because what you're about to discover might be the turning point in your healing journey. And if this feels like exactly what you need right now, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss a single moment of awakening on your path to rebirth. Imagine this: you've gone silent. No more pleading, no more arguing. You walked away quietly without drama, and yet they begin to spiral, confused, angry, even panicked. Why? Because to someone with narcissistic traits, seeing you happy without them is like a punch to an already fragile ego that thrives on control. You were once seen as their possession, not in a loving sense, but in terms of ownership. When they had you, they didn't offer respect nor understanding. But the moment you left, your absence triggered a secret fear inside them. What if you realize your true worth? What if you're actually happier without them? And that to them is unbearable. Many survivors have shared that after a breakup, they were suddenly being watched, called, incessantly harassed on social media, even though the narcissist had already moved on with someone new. That's not love. That's a panic response from an ego that cannot handle the fact that you've taken back control of your own life. They're not hurting because they lost you. They're hurting because they lost the power to make you hurt. And here's what you must understand clearly. Your decision to move on is not a provocation. It's survival. You don't owe them another tear. The moment you walked away, you sent a powerful message that you are no longer a source of supply for their wounded ego. And that is what truly destabilizes them. The calmer you are, the more chaotic they become. The clearer you are, the more manipulative they get. The farther you move forward, the harder they try to return, not out of love, but out of an inability to accept your freedom. But always remember that freedom isn't something you need permission for, it's something you deserve. So if you're now happy with someone new, don't feel guilty. If you're smiling from the heart, living fully, don't look back. Because the truth is, the narcissist never loved you with their heart. They loved the power they had when your heart was still bleeding because of them. And when you stop bleeding, they panic. When you stop reacting, they collapse. When you find peace, they lose the role they once convinced you no one else could fulfill. The brighter you shine on your new path, the more visible the cracks become in the identity they built on control, jealousy, and manipulation. And suddenly, words like, "I'm happy for you," or "I just want you to be happy," are no longer blessings. They're empty phrases. Behind them lies a simmering rage, a fear of being replaced, a bitter realization that you didn't just survive, you thrived. But you know what? Right now you're standing at the crossroads of liberation. You can keep moving forward, not to retaliate, not to prove anything, but simply to live in alignment with your true worth. They don't need to understand. They don't need to witness it, because this is no longer their story. This is a new chapter, your chapter. And if you're still on your healing journey, if you're looking for a space to be heard, to feel understood, and to grow, hit subscribe. Turn on the notification bell and leave a comment below. Because here, you'll not only learn how to recognize manipulation, you'll learn how to rise, how to walk away, and how to never again return to the shadow that once made you forget the light within yourself. Thank you for watching until the end of this video. You are not alone. You are stronger than you think. And the journey ahead is yours, written by you. There may come a time when they try to return. Maybe in a few weeks, months, or even years later, with a hesitant apology, a message saying, "I've always been thinking about you," or a vague text sent in the middle of the night. Don't let those words pull you back. Don't let old memories or rare moments that once made you smile trick you into believing they've changed. Because the most important thing to remember is this: when someone truly loves you, they don't wait for you to become radiant just to come back. They don't need to see you happy with someone else to recognize your worth. A narcissist doesn't mourn the loss of you. They mourn the loss of the power they once held over you. They're not jealous because of love. They're jealous because they can no longer manipulate you. And that is not love. That is possession, attachment, and a threatened ego. And you are no longer the one who has to bow your head. No longer the one silently crying after being discarded. No longer the one living in self-doubt, under control, constantly feeling not enough. You've stepped out of that. You've survived. And each day, you're living more fully, more clearly, more freely. Remember this: you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your peace, your smile, your quiet mornings, free from anxiety or tears, are the loudest proof of your victory. And if someone can't stand to see you happy, they were never worthy of standing beside you in the first place. And then you'll notice something strange: the less you react, the more insecure they become. When you're silent, they unravel. When you're no longer there to cry, to explain, to plead, they no longer know who they are. Because their entire sense of self was built on your suffering, your resistance, your desperate attempts to prove you were worthy of love. But now you don't do that anymore. You no longer need anyone to validate that you are enough. And that very silence, that detached gaze, that serenity in your heart becomes a mirror that reflects their inner emptiness. To the narcissist, there's nothing more brutal than being forgotten. Nothing more painful than knowing you're doing just fine without them. That's why they'll try to return. Perhaps with words of regret, with promises of change, or with the same old half-hearted affection, just to see if you'll still react. But that's not love coming back, that's a power test. And you must be clear-eyed enough to recognize it. You no longer live in the cycle of hope, disappointment, pain, apology, and pain again. You're in a new chapter now, the chapter of clarity. Of no more what-ifs, no more. Maybe they've changed, no more. This time will be different. Because this time, you are the one who's changed. You no longer need to win in that relationship. You only need to win against yourself, to overcome the emotional addiction, the fear of being alone, the illusion that love must include suffering. So if you're in that moment of doubt, wondering if you're being too harsh for moving on, for leaving them behind, remember this. You are not obligated to stay in a relationship just to prevent someone else from feeling hurt. You were not born to be the painkiller for someone else's brokenness, especially when they were the one who broke you and then walked away as if nothing had happened. You are no longer the gatekeeper of their heart. You are the guardian of your own. And when you protect your boundaries, when you prioritize your emotional safety, when you refuse to return to what once made you lose yourself, that is not selfishness. That is growth. That is self-love. And in that moment, the control they once had dissolves. They may get angry. They may try to smear your name. They may pretend to regret everything. But you've already exited the maze. You don't need to go back just to prove you're a good person. You just need to keep walking steady, clear, and loving yourself enough to never accept what once broke you. Because in the end, what they'll never dare to admit is this: you are the one they cannot control because of your silence. You didn't scream. You didn't cause chaos. You simply withdrew, and that drives them mad. Because a narcissist doesn't fear losing you, they fear losing their power over you, and you've taken that power back. And you know what? You, the one they once labeled as weak, as someone who couldn't possibly live without them, are now the very person who keeps them up at night. Not because you retaliated, not because you held on to hate, but because you went silent, because you chose the one thing they never believed you had the strength to choose, to leave and never look back. Never underestimate the power of silence that comes from an awakened soul, because when you no longer react, no longer ache, no longer weight, they no longer have a place in your inner world. And that leaves them lost. They once thought you were fragile, but the truth is, it takes immense courage not to respond. It takes deep maturity not to text back. And it takes profound self-love not to give another chance to someone who once trampled it. So if you're in the middle of your healing, take a moment to hug yourself. Tell yourself you're doing an amazing job, that you don't need a happy ending with the wrong person, you need a right beginning with yourself. And if this video resonated with you, if you felt understood, strengthened, seen, don't leave in silence. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment below. I chose myself. Because the healing journey is not meant to be walked alone. And here you are, never alone. And if today you're watching this video in a quiet room, your eyes still stinging from tears that haven't yet dried, your heart still trembling from memories that haven't fallen asleep, please know this: what you're going through is not weakness. It is the process of returning to yourself. You don't need to get over it in one night. You don't need to appear strong in front of anyone. Sometimes just not texting them back is already a victory. Sometimes simply removing an old photo is opening a new door in your mind. And sometimes whispering to yourself, "I'm not going back," is the bravest, most honorable act of choosing yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel wrong for walking away from something that made you cry every night. Don't let a midnight message drag you back into the darkness you fought so hard to escape. Those who truly love you will never make you question your worth. They won't love you in ways that require you to sacrifice your dignity just to keep their love alive. You've walked through hell in silence, and now you're placing one foot at a time on the sacred ground of healing. No one saw the nights you collapsed alone. But today, the world begins to witness you rise, not needing applause, not needing validation, only needing the peace you once thought you could never feel again. Hold on to that. Protect your peace like the sacred gift that it is. Do not allow anyone who once hurt you to have the privilege of touching the light you've just reclaimed. If you're still here, if you've listened until the very last moment, then I know you're someone who truly wants to step out of the darkness, not just to survive, but to live a life that's worth living. Leave a comment. I deserve peace. And don't forget to hit subscribe, not just to follow the channel, but to remind yourself that you are on the right path. A new journey is unfolding, and you are not walking it alone. What hurts them most isn't that you've fallen in love with someone new. It's that you no longer think about them the way you used to. You no longer care what they're doing, who they're with, or where they are. You no longer cry at that old song. You no longer pause at the coffee shop you once shared together. To a narcissist, your happiness without them is the ultimate insult, because in their world, you were never meant to be free. They could walk away, end things coldly without a single explanation, but you were never supposed to move on. You were supposed to stay there in pain, waiting, regretting. Because to them, you were a possession, not a person with a heart and a soul of your own. And when they finally see you hand in hand with someone new, someone who doesn't need to hurt you to feel valuable, they lose it. Not because they love you, but because they no longer own any part of you. They might give you a sarcastic smile and mutter something like, "Congratulations. I just hope that person doesn't make you cry the way I did." But that's not a blessing. That's an emotional jab. A subtle attack meant to plant doubt, to stir old pain, to make you wonder, am I wrong for moving on? And if you react even just a little, they'll feel validated as though they still exist in your mind. That's their favorite game probe. Provoke, then pull back. It's a form of sophisticated hoovering. They don't have to actually return to, still keep you from moving forward completely. But you're different now. You're no longer pulled back by midnight texts, vague messages, or empty questions that pretend to show concern. You don't read those words with a broken heart anymore, but with one that's healing. You understand now, if someone truly loved you, they would have never made you walk through hell just to keep them. And if someone truly regretted losing you, they'd make it right, not just confuse you with mixed signals. One of the greatest fears of a narcissist is being replaced, especially by someone who doesn't need to hurt you to make you feel loved. In their mind, they are the peak, the best you'll ever have, the standard no one could surpass. They believe that no matter where you go, who you meet, or who you love, eventually you'll realize they were the only one who truly understood you. But that's not truth. That's a delusion they created to maintain power in your mind. When they see you in love with someone new, someone who doesn't manipulate you, doesn't spiral into jealousy, doesn't make you question your worth, they're forced to confront a brutal truth: they were never irreplaceable. That's the moment their ego begins to crack. They'll try to find flaws in your new partner. They'll say things like, "She's just using you," or "He doesn't really love you. You'll see soon enough." These are indirect strikes with one goal: to make you doubt the happiness you've finally found. Because if you start believing that everyone will hurt you like they did, they still win. If you begin to question your own joy, you've handed them the one thing they always craved: control over your emotions. And you need to remember this: no one has the right to make you feel guilty for being loved in a healthy way. No one has the right to come back and critique your new relationship, especially after they discarded you like you didn't matter. They no longer have a role in your life. They wrote themselves out through their coldness, their manipulation, their dishonesty. Don't let them step into your new chapter using the same old storyline. Don't let them redefine your happiness when they never knew how to protect it. You're moving forward not for revenge, but to live the life you deserve. When a narcissist realizes you're no longer looking back, no longer answering their texts, no longer revealing anything through your eyes, your expressions, or your daily life, that's when the silent panic begins. A person who once believed they could twist your emotions at will must now face a version of you they can't reach, can't shake, can't control. And to them, that is a real threat. They begin to unravel, not in ways you always see, but in subtle escalations, secretly watching you on social media, accidentally showing up at places you frequent, digging into your new partner's life and fabricating stories. Sometimes they play the kind-hearted role, messaging you with, "I'm not trying to interfere, I just want to know you're okay." But behind that is a whole narrative of surveillance and silent testing. Some go further, attaching tracking devices to your car, hiding cameras in your home, creating fake accounts to monitor your every move. Not out of love, but because they can't accept the truth they've lost the ability to manipulate you. Even with someone new, they don't let go. In their distorted reality, the new person is just a placeholder, and you still belong to them on some level. If they see you genuinely happy, they feel betrayed. They wonder, how can he smile like that without me? And that thought shatters their already fragile ego. You may think you're doing something entirely normal, falling in love again, building a new life, healing, smiling. But to a narcissist, that equals a collapse of their self-image. Because you're proving something, they refuse to believe that you are not only capable of living without them, but thriving. So they'll do whatever it takes to pull you back, even if it's with a cold text, a sarcastic blessing, or a subtle threat. When threats don't shake you, when jealous glares and cryptic messages no longer provoke you, the narcissist shifts tactics from aggressive to pitiful. They'll start saying they've thought a lot, that they finally understand their mistakes, that no one gets them like you, and that they never stopped loving you. They cry, they apologize, they send long, rambling messages about childhood trauma, unhealed wounds, and all the reasons why they hurt you without ever truly taking responsibility. That's not remorse, that's emotional manipulation. They know you have empathy. They know you once loved them enough to forgive, and they use that very part of you to draw you back in. They're not sorry for hurting you. They're sorry they can't keep hurting you. They don't want forgiveness to rebuild. They want it to repeat. Their ego needs the reassurance. You still belong to me no matter how badly I treated you. And if you forgive, if you return, they breathe a sigh of relief, not because they love you, but because they still won. Be cautious of apologies without real change. Be cautious of perfectly timed tears when you've just started to laugh again, when you're holding someone else's hand, when you post a photo glowing in sunlight, with no trace of them in the frame. Because when they see your freedom, your joy, your peace, they can't accept it. Instead of facing themselves and growing, they'd rather drag you back, cloud you with guilt and confusion, make you return just so they can be the one to leave again. And you must be strong enough to understand not everyone who says "I'm sorry" deserves a place in your life again. Sometimes the most powerful and honest apology is your silence and your release. And then one day you'll realize it doesn't hurt anymore when you think of them. You won't flinch when their name pops up somewhere. You won't wonder whether they miss you, whether they're watching you from a distance, or whether they regret losing you. Because deep down, you no longer need answers from them. You've learned something powerful. Some people didn't leave because you weren't enough, but because they were never capable of loving you the right way. And real love is never built on fear, jealousy, or the need to control. It's not a battle to win, it's a journey to grow together. But to a narcissist, love is just a tool, a psychological game they play only when they can pull the strings. So if today you find yourself at the end of a relationship like that, please don't regret it. Don't be afraid when they try to return. Don't be swayed by their performance of remorse, because the moment you stop reacting, that's the moment you reclaim authorship of your life. They might watch you from a distance and tell themselves, "She can't live without me." But you know the truth. You've come back to life and you're stronger than ever without them. You're walking forward step by step along a path you once believed you'd never survive. And every step you take is a quiet but powerful declaration you no longer belong to that past. You deserve peace. You deserve healthy love. You deserve a future untouched by those who only know how to love themselves. So keep nurturing that powerful silence. Keep protecting the light you've fought so hard to rediscover. Don't go back for memories. Don't trade your growth for a single "I'm sorry." If this video has touched you, if you've seen parts of yourself in these words, leave a comment. I chose peace. And don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we can meet again in the next videos where you'll continue your healing journey, deepen your self-understanding, and never again let anyone redefine your worth. Because you are not just a survivor, you are someone who has overcome. And from this moment on, you will never return to that darkness again.